Hello, I'm Nola, and welcome to my channel. Today, as promised, I'm going to speak a little on what it feels like, what my personal experience has been living in the Netherlands as an expat. While I cannot speak for every Black woman or every African American woman, I will share with you my personal experiences. Full disclosure, I was born and raised in South Africa. And when I was very young, I immigrated to America, where I lived for close to 40 years before moving to the Netherlands approximately 10 months ago. So the race group that I would have been classified or was classified as in South Africa was colored. But when I arrived in America, there was no such race group, and in order to assimilate and to live the life that I chose, I accepted the fact that I was Black or African American, which is interchangeable. However, I want to state that today this chat is not just about race. It's about experience, identity, and the subtle ways belonging is granted or denied. I'm going to share with you some of the things that have surprised me, some of the things that have caught me off guard, and some of the things that I didn't expect as a Black woman. Granted, I am a more mature Black woman. I'm not young like a lot of perhaps other expats, and so I am going to just speak from my experience. Once again, I want to say that this is only from my experience, okay? So, one of the first things that I noticed is how free I felt. This was not my first visit to the Netherlands when I made the decision to move here. I'd been here as a young woman, about 22 years old, but only to Amsterdam, and now I live in the north of the Netherlands, properly known as Holland. So the country is the Netherlands, and then there is an area that is known as Holland proper, for lack of a better way to explain that. And so I wanted to take a moment to speak from my heart about what I have experienced here. One of the very first things that I noticed was that in stores I was not being approached and asked where things were, which so often happened to me in America. No one here has ever mistaken me for staff, and that was so freeing and so refreshing, because no one has asked me where the fitting rooms are or where they could find cereal. And if you've never had that happen to you, it might sound small. But for me personally, it wasn't, because I'd lived through it again and again. It's a kind of weight that one doesn't even realize that one is carrying until it's gone. In the US, it was a constant. I'd walk into the store, and often before I could exhale, someone would approach me assuming something about me, my role, my purpose, and my place. So toward the end, I started doing it back. I'd approach Caucasian women and ask them where things were. And when they'd reply, "Oh, I don't work here," I'd smile and say, "Thank you." So with the absence of those assumptions, it has given me a strange kind of peace. One I certainly just didn't expect or even anticipate, but I'm deeply grateful for that. I also feel something else here: safety. I really do. And I was fortunate because my late husband and I were upper middle class. So we lived in very good neighborhoods. Our son went to private schools, and I didn't have to worry about safety as much. But I do feel much safer here. One, because of the lack of major gun violence. Two, I don't freeze when I see the police. I drove really nice vehicles, and I'd been pulled over a few times, and I felt that I was being profiled. The same thing happened to our son and many other African American people that I know personally. So when I see the police here, I don't freeze anymore because they wave. That's unusual. Even if they are behind me when I'm driving, I feel if I'm obeying the speed limits and doing what I'm supposed to do, it's just easy. It really is. And I also don't feel the need to make myself smaller. I can walk down the street no matter how I choose to wear my hair. And nobody frowns at me or makes me feel out of place, or makes me feel different. And I've still had challenges too. City Hall, in my previous video, one of my previous videos, I spoke about moving abroad in your 60s. City Hall, for me locally in the town that I live in, was a test of patience. I went there 16 times trying to sort out basic paperwork. Meanwhile, immigration and the tax office, the Belastingdienst, treated me with absolute kindness and courtesy, and it was a breeze in comparison to anything that I'd experienced in the United States. And then there is Zapier, or Zapier, however it is pronounced, that all immigrants or expats come through, whether you are a refugee or whether you are an expat or a immigrant. Okay? They give unclear information, they don't return calls, and in my experience, it left me feeling like nobody cared whether I received the support or the help that I needed or not. So those are just a couple of things. And then one of the major things for me, there were actually two, was the moment that I tried to open a basic checking account with the pretty major bank here. I walked into the bank with all of my, documents, all of my identity, and my documents from the Netherlands. And the woman told me to go back to my vehicle and call the bank from there. Yes, she told me to go back to my car and to call the phone number of the bank. And the woman who answered the phone, when I explained to her what had happened, she was absolutely appalled. And she told me to walk right back into that bank. I made the call from the parking lot, and she told me to go right back into the bank and tell them that they had to open an account. But even then, it took 6 months. 6 months to open a basic checking and savings account. So I didn't know if I was being profiled because I'm Black or because I'm American or both. But I know how that made me feel. So I wrote a Trustpilot review about my experience. And since then, I've been back to the bank 3 times and I've been treated completely differently. I also spoke to the officials at the bank when they called me and explained how it was done and asked a lot of questions about where I would be sending money to and where I would be getting my money from and how much money I would be bringing into the country and so on and so forth. But I shouldn't have had to go through all of that just to be seen or to be helped by anyone else. But these moments don't cancel out the good, but they do exist alongside it. My second experience was so bizarre. We have a large local mall, and I was looking for a salon to get my hair done at. And the minute I opened the door, I didn't even step through the threshold properly when a woman in the back of the room shouted, "We are not accepting any more appointments." She didn't know what I wanted, when I wanted it for, or whatever. And when I tried to explain, she wouldn't even give me a hearing. So I knew in that moment that I had been racially profiled. There was nothing else. I felt that it could have been handled differently. She could have told me that she didn't do my type of hair or whatever, and I would have understood. All I was seeking really was a trim and someone to put my hair up in a up style. I would have washed and set it myself at home. Um, and I think that any hairdresser could do that, but then again, I'm not a hairdresser. So again, it's those moments that don't cancel, these moments don't cancel out the good. Again, but I've learned to just exist alongside it. So yes, there is peace here. There's a quiet dignity that is allowed to exist without assumptions. But there have also been moments, as I said, of frustration, of feeling unseen or pushed aside by bureaucracy. And other things, people have been kind. My language classes have been good. People have been very courteous in speaking to me in English as I struggle with my Dutch. It's not an easy language for me to learn. And the neighborhood that I live in, I am so enormously fortunate. I love my neighbors, and I say that really honestly and fairly and with an open heart. And my neighborhood is not very mixed. That's just a fact. It's just where I happen to land. It's not anything that I chose. And I think that I prefer it also because it forces me to assimilate. And I do belong to an expat community who is very, very helpful, open, kind. I've met a lot of wonderful people from all over the world. And I've made some really good friends. And people have shared information with me. And I'm really happy here for the most part. And at this time, I feel also that I had some sort of divine guidance that brought me here because of everything that is happening at home in America. And I know that many people are stuck. They're not as fortunate as I am. And so just the beauty of the place. I dislike winter. I lived up north and down south in America, and I prefer the sunny places. I'm a sunshine girl. I did not choose the Netherlands for the weather. I don't think that anyone does. But the spring is so wonderful. I missed most of the fall because I went back home to try to tie up some unfinished, business. And so what I have experienced so far, of course, I've had dark days and difficult days when I've second guessed myself, where I miss my family and my friends tremendously, where I miss the American way of life, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, because in America, everything is so fast. If you want a handyman, he can be here tomorrow. If you want something delivered by Amazon, you can have it in 4 hours. Those are some of the things that I took for granted, and I've had to adapt to, because sometimes Amazon here takes four days or 4 weeks. It just depends on the item, and also the import taxes and duties are very, very expensive. What I've also noticed about living here in the Netherlands is the wonderful um, support system that they have for young people, people with mental health issues, how they take care of the children, how they take care of their senior citizens. I'd been on a couple of interviews and I was treated very well. One of them just happened to be today after Donald Trump announced that he wanted Europe to enforce DEI, and that has been a major news issue here and tremendous pushback. I do want to work here because I want to assimilate. I want to be able to be useful. I want to be able to practice my, language skills. And I see this as my home for the foreseeable future. How long that will last? If I go back to the United States, I don't know. That is yet to be decided. There's also just such an ease of living. Nobody cares about what degrees I have or don't have, what university I went to or didn't go to, what my parents did. Those are not the questions that the Dutch people ask. And yes, there are a lot of expats, there are a lot of immigrants, and there are a lot of refugees because of the chaos in the world. But that was not what I was going to speak about today. So my spirit feels free. That's what I wanted to share with you. I feel safer. When I go to a movie theater, I'm not afraid of someone coming in with a gun and shooting up the place. I'm still adjusting. And this move has also taught me, and I'm in my early 60s, this move has also taught me so much about myself. I know I've been brave and I've been crazy, I think, to even consider having done this. But after I lost my husband, I needed to reinvent myself. I wasn't moving on, I was moving forward. And I had to force myself out of my comfort zone. I could not have continued to exist with just going to work and coming home and seeing friends and family on a occasion. I've always loved Europe. I have been fortunate to have traveled pretty extensively. And so my late husband and I always thought that we would settle in Portugal. Not in a million years would I ever have thought that I would settle in the Netherlands, especially because it's difficult. You are expected to learn the language and know the language, and while many Dutch do speak English, if you intend to work, it's a requirement that you speak at least level 2 Dutch. So that has been one of the greater challenges. And then personally speaking for myself, I've had a difficult time with the food. I love all kinds of food, and sometimes Dutch cuisine is lacking spice for me. So there, I've said it. But overall, I feel very welcome. I feel seen. I have been embraced. And once again, I can only speak for myself. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I can answer for you about living in the Netherlands, about an African American, as an African American woman, or as a senior person, what that requires as far as paperwork goes and how the US government handles stuff like that. The taxation, I can tell you, I'm not an expert, that you're expected to pay your taxes both here and both at home in America. That is just the law and the rule. And so this message is from my soul to yours. I don't know who this is meant for. And again, I don't pretend to speak for every Black woman. Our stories are not monolithic. I can only share mine, and I believe it is worth sharing. because some of what I've experienced here has been surprisingly healing. And until the next time, do take care of yourself, and please remember that kindness really matters. Everyone is dealing with something that we don't know about, that you don't know about, that I don't know about. People are struggling with all kinds of things, and kindness really matters. So do take care, and thank you for being here. And to my new subscribers, there's now 39 of you. I appreciate you more than I can tell you. And if you've liked what you've heard today, if you found it useful, and you feel that there's someone that could learn something from this, would you consider liking, sharing, and subscribing? It's free to do so. And yes, it will help my channel to grow. This channel is really about spirituality, but I also wanted to incorporate it with what I've experienced as an African American woman. That's how I identify myself, Black African American. I embrace it. After all, we are not a color. We are human species, right? I give you all my best love. Take care of yourself. Follow your heart. The answers are within you. And bye for now.